Hi everybody, how you doing? I'm Pabs, a Rising VTuber and an artist, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of work on our art fight attacks. So the first person that I've chosen to attack is another VTuber, Shy Draws, and she has a... Okay, I really need to check pronouns. Hang on. I I'm 90% sure I have this right, but I wanted to do it just in case. Yes, okay, so she has also a VTuber account. You should go follow it, ShyDraws99. And she has the two characters that I'm going to be working on today is Valoria here and Wyatt here. So apparently these two are roommates, and Wyatt is, kind of part monster. Valoria is kind of a monster hunter. And for some reason that reminded me of, I don't know, the kind of like dynamic they have. Also, if you're wondering why I'm wearing these fancy looking cat ears that come stock standard with VTube Studio, that's because I'm on Team Werewolf, and I forgot to prepare like an asset for it this year, so I had to improvise. Right, I probably should have led with that. Anyway, their kind of dynamic reminds me a lot of Chainsaw Man. What like Denji and Power have going on to some extent. I don't know, not really their dynamic so much as like this specific pose reminded me a lot of the two when I read those descriptions. So what I'm gonna do is first of all I'm gonna make a new canvas so that I can actually work on what I want to work on. 3000 by 4000 has never led me wrong. Here we go. The idea is to copy this pose a little bit. I'm probably gonna do this like half body. So I'm gonna like keep these guys around here. I do think it's really funny how Power is just like kind of hanging off of Denji like this. She's like it reminds me of like, when you toss a jacket on a coat rack but it doesn't stick quite right, so it ends up like hanging a little bit weirdly, a little bit lopsided. It reminds me a little bit of that. Like Denji's just like the massive coat rack. God. Chainsaw Man is interesting because it doesn't update as often as other mangas. Like for a lot of them, they do have very reliable weekly chapters. But I think for Chainsaw Man in particular, art fight time. That's right. Hi, Bunny. Yeah, I think Chainsaw Man updates like weekly, and then like every 3 or 4 chapters they take a break. I am a cat boy. Team Werewolf. I wanted to have some kind of like animal attribute, but I forgot to cook something in time. So here we are. I don't know. The longer I wear these things, the longer I feel like I should start apologizing to cat boys everywhere. I don't know. I think I'm wearing them with some. I've got panache. I've got the dignity to pull them off. Can I like make these transparent very quick? Yeah. Here we go. It's so nice whenever references are very easy to work with. I remember that when the 2.0 design for Vesper came out, I think Paco released the reference sheets for that guy like 3 or 4 hours after the stream ended, and I was like, yes, thank you. These look so clean, as they should, right? That's supposed to be like professional work. All right. So first sketching. It's been a while since I've done art fight. I feel like I'm going to I'm going to like reawaken some of my ancient techniques or some shit. All right. Valoria seems a lot more uptight than Denji, so I think she would have some kind of, she'd be standing a little bit straighter. Probably some high cheekbones. Okay, kind of like One like this. Yeah, I think that would be cool. And I'm on the wrong layer. I feel like that was a record time for being on the wrong layer. Fastest I've ever done it. Yeah. I really like this look with the vest and the tie. I think I'm gonna try and go for that. I was editing a clip the other day. Last night actually, I edited a clip and I noticed that when other people have seen my recordings, they've actually mentioned that I say like a lot. And I thought, oh no, I say the normal amount, right? I say it an amount that is normal. I checked the playback yesterday. I sounded like I sounded like a parody of a teenager from the 2000s. I don't know. I use a lot of filler words. I think that's my thing. Why I say like so much is that I try to think of what to say way faster than I can actually say it. So I try to fill in the dead air with, words to bridge that gap. Can you tell that right now I'm trying really hard to not say like? I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. I feel like it's a weird thing to worry about. It's a good thing that I noticed, though. I feel like it's a good thing that I noticed that I do that a lot. It'll be less good now that I'm super paranoid about saying like every single time I want to say it. But such is life. So I'm going to make the body a little bit wide. Maybe rather than making the body wider, I need to make the head more narrow. Yeah. I don't know. I really enjoy Art Fight because I feel like this in particular won't feel right unless I finish the drawing in one sitting. I don't know. It's nostalgic. I haven't done a drawing in one sitting for a long time. Mood? Do you also feel that way? That makes me feel a little bit better. Not that I felt bad about it, but it's always nice to know that you don't feel alone on a specific thing. Yeah, I read about that in a Tumblr post, right? How when you're trying to, when people do small talk and they say stuff like, "Hey, so we're having some nice weather today, huh?" And they respond like, "Yeah, we are." Obviously, like talking about the weather isn't super important. It's actually kind of dumb, but at the same time, what you're doing there is that you're kind of establishing kind of like unity in a group, right? Like you're appealing to that sense of community by saying, "Hey, we're both in this space together. Check that out." Crazy, right? Anyway, good seeing you, brother. It's the equivalent of doing that. I also pictured Valoria with a crossbow for some reason. I kind of want to draw that. I don't know. I always find it very interesting when a female character is kind of how do I put this? It's I really like female characters who are just extremely hardcore for no discernible reason. Women who take no shit and are just really hardcore. I really love it. Can destroy you. Huh. This realization better not awaken anything in me. Anyway, yes, that also can destroy me. But more importantly, I'm trying to think of the most eloquent way to say this. I think they're just really cool. The pause. Listen, you've made me consider some very long held beliefs that I've had. You can't just blow my mind and expect me to not be ruminant about it. Is that the word? Ruminant? I feel like ruminant is probably the word. Or is that... Okay, I forget. Is ruminant just animals who like eat grass, or is that also co-optable for... Wait, no, ruminating is a real word. Ruminate, yeah. It's no wonder I'm ruminating. Or it costs me to ruminate. I do think ruminant might actually just be the animals who eat grass. I haven't eaten grass in years, so I think I'm exempt from this. I think I must have eaten a little bit of grass as a kid. Just a little bit, you know, enough to know that it didn't taste very good. I don't remember enough from that time. I definitely ate stuff that I wasn't supposed to as a kid. I definitely ate like a berry from a bush that nobody identified before. I remember doing that a couple times. Thankfully, I never got sick, but you know, I'm guessing my parents probably had to prevent a few close calls here and there. I wonder if there's a kind of pipeline from people who will eat rocks on the ground as kids to people who won't scrape off, who think that scraping mold off bread makes it edible again. It always scares me super bad when somebody thinks that that scraping mold off bread will save the bread, so to speak. Yeah, as an FYI, if whoever's listening didn't know, if you get moldy bread, because of the bread structure, right? Because it's a very spongy kind of thing, the mold is actually all over the bread now. The mold, by the time you see the mold is already everywhere. So if you think that if you think there I go again. If you think that scraping the mold off bread fixes it, that's not how that works, unfortunately. Unless you've eaten a huge chunk of it, I don't think it's a call poison control kind of situation, but maybe you should look up some kind of toxicology test you can do. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of experience eating moldy bread, thank the Lord. So I am not the most foremost expert in the field on that matter. There we go. I really like vests. Vests feel like a good middle point between a full-on kind of suit and just wearing a shirt. There's something kind of sauceless about wearing just a shirt, right? I don't know. I feel that just wearing a shirt doesn't call to mind unless it's also paired with a tie or something. I feel like it doesn't really call to mind any kind of iconography. That's why I don't really enjoy it as character design, just having a simple shirt. You can add a symbol to it, you can add some accessories to it, and I feel like that changes up a little bit of it. But something about just a plain shirt makes... how do I put this? Having just a plain shirt makes whoever you're making look like just a guy more than wearing just a normal t-shirt would. Because t-shirt implies kind of casual, right? T-shirt implies, this person's not here exactly for business. The shirt is one of those things that's so versatile it actually becomes meaningless. Are you here for business? Are you here for pleasure? I mean, you could probably do the pleasure thing by unbuttoning a few buttons, right? I have one character, Blanchard, who wears a shirt but completely unbuttoned, but it is tucked in, so it just has this plunging neckline all the way down to the belt. And I thought that was cool. It does something with it. It informs you that this dude is kind of a man whore. Just a little bit. Alright, what does a crossbow look like? Like a really old crossbow. Oh, here we go. Just a bit for the culture. You understand. You understand. This that wire definitely could rope like that fire a crossbow bolt? I feel like this is more of a cosplay thing. Oh no, here we go. Now this looks like now this is a crossbow with some hair on its chest. All right, let's sneak that in there. It's kind of at the right angle that I need too. Oh, this is okay. I couldn't have asked for a better reference. This is at the exact angle that I needed. Now, see, that's too big. Too big of a crossbow. I'd say that I need to get my hands on a crossbow in real to kind of get a perspective of how big they're supposed to be. But I think that that's a poor idea. Crossbows feel like getting a crossbow feels like a step up from the dudes who get swords as a regular hobby. You know, not to knock on people's hobbies, but how do I put this? I feel like if you own a crossbow but you don't own a sword, that's a little strange. I feel like they're correlated as medieval weapons. Oh, that's a super weird selection field. I don't know how to feel about that. They should get rid of most of the grays though. Oh, that is kind of grody. That's a bit grody, yeah. Oh well, can't be helped. Maybe I can kind of like, just a little bit, try to angle this. Yeah, I think that looks cool. Okay, so the hand would be where exactly? Where would I put the hand? Boy, let me tell you something weird that happened today. So I was working at my desk as usual. So a little while ago, I had an appointment for a dental surgery. It wasn't a super big surgery. It's a kind that you're basically back to 100% after a few days of rest. You know, it's like a surgery for babies. And because of a certain kind of appointment that I had at my workplace, I actually had to cancel my first appointment for that I originally scheduled for it, and I was bummed about that. Sure, you know, it's not great to cancel appointments for kind of a medical thing. But what the dentist staff told me is that, you know, we don't have an appointment left in this year for this specific procedure, but we'll put you on a cancel list. So if anybody cancels their appointment, you can snap that slot back up and you can probably get it faster than if you just got it next year. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. I can handle that. And they call me today. It turns out that one of the patients that was scheduled for it canceled, and they can take me in tomorrow. Right. So they call me at I don't know, noon or so, and they say, "Hey, can you come to the surgery tomorrow? You'll be out for like an hour and 15 minutes. You won't be able to, you know, it's one of those things that keeps, you know, some delicate stuff in your mouth still for a little while. So you're not going to be able to eat like hard foods for the next couple days. You're not going to be able to like do exercise for the next few days just until they just settle and such." And I took the opportunity. I was like, sure, let's rock. Yeah, the good thing is that I'd already made a, because I was supposed to do it earlier in the year, I'd already almost made a plan for what I needed to do to be ready for it. That's the good news. The bad news is that for the I'm planning to kind of still stream tomorrow because streaming, unless it's like a horror game or something, right? It's not a particularly high heart rate activity, but I won't be able to talk, which is difficult given the normal cadence of what I do. So either tomorrow we're gonna have silent reading time while I draw, or we're gonna have me trying to finagle a soundboard in time for the chat, and you're gonna be hearing the default Microsoft text to speech voice doing my funny bits and jokes. I don't know which one would be preferable, and honestly, I think I kind of want to do the soundbar thing just in case. Well, just in case implies that I'm doing it in some kind of what do you call uncertainty. I kind of want to see what happens if I do the soundbox, because I imagine that this won't be the last time I want to stream while I can't talk, right? Something other might happen. I might have to go in for a second run or something. So I kind of want to see what happens if I just try to use the sound pool. What's the name of it? Hang on. Soundboard. I said soundbox, didn't I? I think I said soundbox. When I was a kid, I had this weird toy thing. I don't think you could really call it a toy. It was more like a novelty item. It was this little plastic box that had a bunch of little buttons on it. And when you press the button, a recorded sound would come out of the box. And they were like themed boxes, right? So you had a Halloween themed one that had, spooky noises and, ghosts rattling the chains, all kinds of things like that. And I remember that when I was a kid, I left one of those things in the drawer and I forgot about it. And then I kept hearing like the screams of the damned in my room. And at first I thought, oh man, is it like a game I'm playing? Is it like a screamer that I got in my browser? And it turns out that it was the box. Something in the drawer had fallen on top of it and it couldn't stop screaming. God. To this day, that's still my go-to reasoning for anything that happens. Like, oh, something must have fallen over. Yeah, forgotten whales. On a clear night, you can still hear their screams. Okay, then like this. I was gonna ask what this part up here is for, but then I remembered that's where the rope goes. My bad. Yeah, the proportions on this are off a little bit. This hand needs to be lower. Okay, let go of this. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I should probably elongate this arm a little bit too. Or maybe bend the elbow a bit more. I think that might be more interesting. There we go. Something about this feels unnatural, though. Something about the pose, I mean. I could get rid of this. No, I think something about both arms is wonky. Okay, then kind of in the middle here. No, the elbow isn't splayed out enough there. Maybe the elbow isn't bent enough on this other one. That might be what's bugging me. There we go. Okay, there we go. That one feels... Oh, you know what I think it might be? What if I kind of just pushed this shoulder down a bit? Raise this up a little bit. Okay, there we go. It's a little bit smoother now. It's a little bit less... I think maybe what was bothering me is that it's almost too symmetrical. The elbows were too even for arms that weren't the same. I think that was what was throwing me off. Okay, then for the other guy, let's see here. We'll do the reference for Wyatt on a separate layer. Little bit of cheek squish, just a little bit. Yeah, Wyatt's supposed to be very androgynous, so I feel like giving Wyatt very soft features is kind of the way to go. Let's see. These are really cute designs, by the way. I really love this art style. Little snaggletooth. This is definitely kind of a winking expression. Let's see, okay. Nice thick eyebrows. And very, very thick twists of hair. Oh yeah, I was reading about this one. They call, I don't remember if they called it a house or an apartment. A troll abode in California. So they called it that because it's very naturally under a bridge. You know, the house or place of rest. That makes it sound like a funeral. The house is under a bridge, which is kind of incredible. First of all, is it even well, if you're living under a bridge, unless it's like a dry bridge, there's no water flowing underneath it. It's gonna suck in the summertime because of the mosquitoes. But also just people driving over your house. I don't know if I could live that way because I feel like the anxiety of somebody potentially driving over my house and being like the straw that cracks the camel's back, that would be too much for me. Same reason I don't like looking out of really high windows or places that have a clear, transparent floor that where the floor isn't part of a bigger structure. Like there's this library near where I live that has a very cool kind of modern design. And the highest point in that building is this block. All right, so it's a very blocky building. And the tallest point of it is like this block that is half dangling off the edge. There's no supports, there's no stilt or nothing. It's just the block hanging out. And whenever I'm on that floor, I feel like I need to leave. I feel like I gotta get out of there. Man, I could never be Spider-Man the way I'm so scared of heights. I, if I got a cameo in Spider Verse, I would absolutely be the weak link Spider Man. All the other Spider Man would be like, "Hey man, isn't it great how we can walk all over the walls and swing from web to web, building to building all the time?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Anyway, I gotta call my Uber. They would roast me so hard for that. I would not survive a single day in the Spider Verse. There we go. Then the other arm. Okay, elbow would be around here. I'm fascinated by, part monster characters that have furry, like fully furry articles. I said articles as if they were clothes. Fully furred limbs like this. Oh, hell yeah, Rice Beast time. Hang on. Get this guy in here. At the risk of redundancy, what happens if? Hang on. Do they have white cat ears in here? No, they just have pink ones. All right, we'll make do. That's the Nian, as you should. Oh, we're playing with fire here. We are for sure playing with fire here. Look at all these assets that I'm never ever going to use. Wait, no, there's white cat ears right there. What am I doing? Get this thing out. Get this thing off of him. All right. And then oops, hang on. I forgot to flip this one. All right, let's try that again. There we go. We're operating on Nyan levels that cannot be quantified by modern science. But yeah, the troll apartment, right? Now, Obviously, they named it that as a kind of derisive jab at the quality of living that one would surely experience within that place. But that brings me to my question. Could we possibly create other fantasy creatures apartment lifestyles? I think there are such things as hobbit houses, right? Those houses that have the round entrances. So I don't think it would be out of the question to try and see if we can't make additional housing kind of based on those principles. I don't know. I feel like some of those have very easy equivalents, but some of them don't. For example, elves, obviously, treehouse. You got to have the elves in the trees. Dwarves, cave house, easy as. Now, what about orc houses though? Because orcs come in a lot of different flavors. Even across their many depictions, a lot of them are depicted as living in, big communities, right? So what I'm thinking for the orc house is almost like a bunk bed, but on a house level. You're never going to do anything alone in an orc house. I think that's how it should be. I'm gonna shrink Wyatt down a little bit because I feel like no, the head does make sense in terms of proportion. Just a little bigger, actually. There we go. Hmm. Maybe Wyatt's okay. Because I'm not going to draw this full body, so I'm hesitant to kind of draw the rest of this. At least I'm telling myself that I'm not going to make it full body. So I'm wondering where the rest of Wyatt's arm could hang out. I could just have it because, Power here has it in her hoodie, and that creates a neat kind of break to it. But Wyatt is also a vest kind of guy, He doesn't have a jacket that I can see. Maybe he's got his hand on her shoulder. Kind of like this. I think this could work. I think this can work. Okay. And then like this. Is that a collared shirt? Yeah, it is. Okay. Okay. This chest is going to go in behind here. And we can add a little bit of the tail. We can have a little of tail as a treat. Okay. I think that should be good for references for the line art. I did forget to draw Valeria's entire head. Or face, rather. Okay, so that's... Oh, that's fairly simple, though. Just a nice kind of ponytail over the shoulder. That's not too hard to do. That's not impossible of an order. Okay. And just a nice little side part here. We'll do the side part first, actually. Hang on. Okay, this thing's kind of hanging out over the side here. Then a little bit here for the side part. And then like this. Hang on. Then Denji's face is a little bit in the way here. Yeah, very kind of serious face, right? There we go. I'm gonna make the hand just a little bit bigger as well. I really need to cook up a hand reference for having your hand on your hip because I feel like at this point it's one of my favorite poses. It's one of the classic poses, right? Hand on the hip. So I'm gonna need to find some reference for it because I use that pose more frequently than I'd like to admit. All right, I'm gonna shrink each of these eyes. I'm gonna expand the whole kind of face area around here. There we go. Perfect. Oh yeah. Speaking of weird housing, I've read that apparently NASA has set up a weird living biome over in Houston called. I think it sounded like Chappie, right? Like it's CHAPEA, which stood for something. I forgot what the full acronym was, right? But apparently it's a Houston. I did say Houston, didn't I? That was my bad. Yeah, Houston in Texan. I will not be taking criticism at this time. Anyway, yeah, Houston, and it's nearby neighboring city, Alston. Anyway, NASA's apparently building some kind of weird Mars-like environment simulation out there, right? So the experiment is that they're going to keep three. I think it was a group of 10 or so people, 3 to 5 or so. It was definitely in the low, in like the low tens to mid singles range of people, and they need to. Their goal is to use a 3D printed house to live out a year in a simulation of Mars. With the goal, of course, being okay. Say we get to Mars, can we actually, is it viable for human living? I think it's a cool idea. I remember when I was a kid, I really wanted to live in one of those simulated environments, right? I was one of those kids who wanted to be an astronaut when they grew up. And I still have a lot of interest in space. Not nearly as much as I should for somebody who wanted to be an astronaut, but I still have a deep fondness for space. And anyway, so the idea is that they'll live in this 3D printed house for a year and they'll see what happens essentially. You know, can they live? If they can't, what would it take for them to live? Is that feasible? That sort of thing. Okay, there we go. And with nose. I don't know. I really like drawing serious-looking people. I'm a rather silly fellow myself, but I think I really shine when it comes to drawing kind of very grim-faced people. Or maybe it's because I don't draw them as often as I do, you know, cheerful-looking people that I feel fascinated by them. You know, you draw a lot of things very often, and you eventually kind of get sick of it, right? I'm always thrilled when I get the chance to draw something that's kind of different from usual. Okay, and then this is gonna trickle into this side lock. I finally remembered that word. I remember I had so much problems remembering the word side lock a long time ago. Yeah, we can start drawing Wyatt here. Okay, a nice little fang. Yeah, I thought a little bit about what differentiates kind of like an animal fang from a vampire fang. And I've realized that it's the pointiness of it. Animal fangs are still very pointy, but you know, if I wanted to make Wyatt look more like a vampire, it would be almost kind of a vertical fang. You know, this one's just a very protruding canine. I'll never forgive the one web article I read. I read an article one time that called canine teeth incisors, which is the name for canine teeth in animals. You know, I think they'd heard the word incisors in an animal context, and then thought, oh, okay, I can just use that as another way of saying canines. That is not true. But now that I think of it, I always think to myself, okay, incisor sounds unusual and scientific. I bet I've been saying it wrong. What if I think I should say incisors instead of canines until I remember, no, wait, that it was just that one dude who was rather full of it. Just keep saying canines. I don't know. It's always annoying when something you read gives you a misconception that's very difficult to shake off. Because you want to do the smart thing. You want to have the right response in your mind, but it's difficult. Yeah. Honestly, for those dudes doing the Martian simulation, if this ends up being a successful experiment, I do worry where that might lead, right? Not because I'm particularly concerned for the ethics of populating Mars. It'll take whatever it takes. But I am concerned for what happens when they want to try other planets in the solar system, because Mars is the planet that's in theory closest to Earth in terms of its. Well, no, I guess that would be the moon, right? But it's close enough that Earth and Mars on the surface look pretty similar. The thing is, once you start getting closer to the sun or further away, because Jupiter is probably out of the question as an inhabitable zone unless you feel like jumping into a gas giant, which is ill-advised. Also, there's that weird storm thing going on in there. The closer you get to the sun, the scarier it gets as well. For example, I think it was either Mercury or Venus. One of those had a lot of silicates in the air for some reason. So you have essentially molten plastic or molten glass kind of raining on you in winds so harsh that it's essentially raining sideways. And if you want to survive that, well, first of all, you're definitely built different, but also I'm saying that it's going to be a lot more difficult to simulate some of the harsher realities of living in such spaces when we have to graduate from Mars. Okay, there we go. I think Wyatt also has a couple of stray hairs back here, yeah. Okay, there we go. I like how the ponytail here came. I don't know. Does this qualify as a ponytail if it's more than one twist? Anyway, the hair bun back here. Yeah, I feel like that's a better general use term. The hair bun. I like how it looks a lot like a flower. Okay. There we go. Bun is circular. Damn it. Hair tie? No, hair tie is the object. Hmm. Then over here. No, it's ponytail. I had it. Darn it. Should have trusted my instinct. Yeah, it's a weird thing. For a lot of my academic stuff, I have a lot of luck. I've had a lot of good outcomes in trusting my gut, but when it comes to everything else, my gut cannot be trusted. Like, if I chose all the answers on an exam randomly based off pure instinct, I'd be able to get it right. But if I did it at a Monty Hall-esque game show, I would get my ass whooped. Right? I would for sure pick the door that has the goat behind it. Why did they have that in that door with the goat? I mean, obviously they had to show some way, in that game show, the Monty Hall problem, right? If you're not familiar with it, it's a mathematical problem that kind of demonstrates how odds work and how they behave. So the setup of the problem is based on an old game show called Monty Hall. And what happened in that game show is that they'd have three doors, right? Behind every door was a mystery, but two of the doors had some kind of fabulous prize, and one of them had a goat. Or some other kind of worthless. Well, I shouldn't call a goat worthless. Goats are very hard-working creatures, but some bummer prize, right? Some sad kind of consolation prize. And what it said is that were they just like goated fool? Get goated fool? I think that's what happened. Maybe they didn't get to keep the goat. Hang on. Monty Hall goat. Get goated. Oh my god. Okay, it's all pointing to the Monty Hall problem, but hang on. Monty Hall problem, brain teaser. Okay, American television game show Let's Make a Deal. Let's see. Door. The Big Deal. The Big Deal serves as the final segment of the show and offers a chance at a significantly larger prize for a lucky trader. Okay, the host asked traders if they wanted to trade in everything they had at that point for a chance to choose one of 3 numbered doors on stage. Okay. Each of the doors concealed either a prize package of some sort or a cash reward hidden inside a prop such as a bank vault, piggy bank, or blank check. Okay. Frequently, but not always, the value of the low door, the lowest value door, is less than the value of the player's original winnings. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Hang on. Goat. Wait, was the goat apocryphal? Was the goat not really a thing in the game? Hang on. So the setup to the Monty Hall problem is this. Suppose you're on a game show and you're given the choice of 3 doors. Behind one door is a car. Behind the others, goats. Okay, so it's one car versus 2 goats. You pick a door, say number 1, and the host, who knows what's behind the doors, opens another door, number 3, which has a goat. He then says to you, do you want to pick door number 2? So the idea is that if you pick door number 2 after one of the choices is eliminated, that's actually, statistically speaking, the smartest choice, because if you pick door number 1 out of 3 options, that's a 33% chance of getting it right. But then if you pick door number 2 out of the 2 doors, that's a 50-50 odds, which are much better than the 33% chance. Okay. But wait, where does the goat come from then? No, hold on. Wait. No, hang on. Where did the goat come from? Why is it a goat? Hang on. Let's make a deal, goat. Three-door Monty Hall problem. All these are Monty Hall problem simulations. Okay, hang on. Apparently getting the goatly experience. Okay, so apparently the goat is something called a zonk. Why am I getting into a game show from the 50s? Hang on. Zonk. Okay, here we go. The program's defining game mechanism is that the other item is hidden from the trader until that choice is made. The trader thus does not know if they are getting something of equal or greater value, or a prize that is referred to as a zonk, an item purposely chosen to be of little or no value to the trader. Oh, here we go. Okay, they have for sure had a llama on there, but that's not a goat. Why? No, hang on. Okay, no, here we go. Zonks can be outlandish items, live animals, junked cards, giant articles of clothing, or legitimate prizes with relatively very little value, such as wheelbarrows, giant teddy bears, or piles of food. Huh. Though usually considered joke okay, here we go. Though usually considered joke prizes, traders legally win the zonks. However, after the taping of the show, any trader who has been zonked is offered a consolation prize, currently $100, instead of having to take home the actual song. This is partly because some of the songs are impractical or physically impossible to receive or deliver to the traders, such as live animals or a stagehand wearing an animal costume. Interesting implications. Or the props are owned by the studio. Some traders accept reasonable duplicates of song prizes. Huh. There's so much I have to learn about the world. But yeah, no, apparently some people did get the Goatly experience. Although some people, I don't know. I feel like if you were bitter enough about losing, you could for sure convince yourself to take home of the goat. Yeah, I don't know. I think at this point the goat is half apocryphal, half real, right? Like there might have been a goat at some point on the show, but that wasn't its defining feature. But for the purposes of the Monty Hall problem, it was. I forgot what I was talking about. Okay, I was talking about go. Oh, okay. I think I was talking about like random chances. Ah, well. If I forgot it, it can't be that important. Yeah. I'm not usually too bothered by forgetting what I was thinking about. It's always a bit of a pain, but if it's important enough, I will for sure remember what it was. The thing that does really cheese me off to forget, though, is stuff like music or the names of stuff that I used to watch very often. I remember one time I forgot the name of this Vocaloid song that I really liked, and it took me ages to find it again, and it annoyed me to no end. It's especially difficult because it's a Vocaloid song, because the thing is, if you look up a Vocaloid song in English, unless you use its full title, you're going to get maybe 3 or 4 hits that are not really relevant, and then YouTube will just automatically link you to the nearest Jubiphonic cover. I remember I actually lost a song in Japanese that way. I didn't remember to record or write down its English title or its approximate English translation title, and so I lost the song forever, and I can't find it anymore. I remember it having very striking visuals, and that's why I remembered it. Yeah, I do have success sometimes though. Like I remember I lost a song called, hang on, is it called Garden or something? Cover? Okay, what was it called? Okay, I forgot the name of it again. I forgot the name of it again. I'm desperately looking through my. I have to like or record it because I will definitely forget. All right, hang on. I need to look it up near the top. Blah 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 blah. No, it's gone. I don't remember what it was called, but I have it somewhere in my one tab list. Man, during my long weekend, I should have taken care of some of my one tab backlogs because I have I think 600 or so tabs in my backlog right now, and that's kind of untenable. Okay, these spike a little bit more than I'm showing here. And maybe like this. This is why I prefer you. This is why I actually kind of appreciate Shazam when I use that to look up certain songs. Because if I use Shazam, it'll be in my history forever. Right? That's one of the benefits of using that application is that if you look up a song, you can just see the history of songs you've looked up, And if you're like, I remember looking up this song, you can just look it up again later. Not so if you're just randomly browsing stuff on your internet, though. Once it's out of your recommended, it's gone. Okay, I need to hurry drawing the rest of this. Yeah. All right, let's see if I can finish. I'm gonna give myself like 15. I'm gonna give myself until the top of the hour to finish this line art. And if I can't do it, I guess I'll just have to take longer. I think I can finish this in 20 minutes. I bet I can do that. How hard could it be? Okay. There we go. And then this. Okay, then from there on, I forgot that Wyatt's arm crossed over here, so I didn't even need to worry about this section here. Well, no time like the present. Dude, I'm actually a little bit jealous of characters who have these huge kind of paw hands, because that it gives it like such a thick feeling that feels really nice. Does Wyatt have toe beans? Yes, he do. But not on the fingers. Just kind of on the pads. Or the palms, I mean. Okay, there we go. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. I read that apparently Subway is switching from pre-sliced meats to live sliced meats. There are so many better ways that I could have put that. Hang on. Instead of having the meats pre-cut, they're going to use a machine to process the meats right before they add them to your sandwich. And first of all, I don't know what that's supposed to impact. Is that going to give, like, does that impact the freshness of the cut at all? Because if you think about it, right, the pre-sliced stuff is also packaged in more. Oh no, I'm guessing there would be like a slight difference, right? Because the way I see it, once you slice this stuff, if you keep it to get packaged together the way you normally would, it's still kind of retained in the same way, if that makes sense. Hang on. This hand's going to take a little bit of extra care. No, I kind of want to do this then. Because if you have a ham slice, right? Say you have like this ham slice. If you have it just like this, and you have anything that's better than the mystery meat tuna, that, and cheers to that, honestly. But yeah. If you have sliced ham and normal ham, but you keep the sliced ham together and compress in such a way that the slices are still basically together, isn't that basically the same level of freshness? I've read that it's apparently because they're planning on selling the company to another food group. I don't know who's planning on buying Subways. I'm kind of terrified of thinking about what will happen if the new management cares even less about the quality of the food. Subways is very expensive for something that's ultimately kind of mid. I don't know. I like Subways, but I've never pretended it's like really really good food, right? I don't know. I don't know a place that does really good foods. I know there's a couple other sandwich places that are regional in the U.S., or at least I think they're regional, but they're actually not. But I don't know. The best sandwiches I've had came from New York delis. New York deli culture has a small bit of a small degree of snobbery to it, right? If you're not in the know, they're kind of mean to you a little bit. But on the other hand, they kind of have the credentials to back up that snobbery. It's like when somebody's like, "I can do better than that," and then they do actually do better than that. That's the kind of qualifications New York delis have. Like you want to give them shit for being mean to you, but they are that good. You want to call them overrated, but they are actually that good. I remember I used to get a Philly cheesesteak from these places very very frequently, and this is an anecdote that I'll remember for the rest of my life just because of how I reacted. I ended up tripping and falling and spilling my sandwich on the pavement as I was walking back from the store in one of these. And I literally kneeled and threw my head up to the heavens in sorrow for losing my sandwich. It was splattered all over the sidewalk. That sandwich was gone. But I straight up did like a Darth Vader, no! Wait, no, that's Anakin that did. That's Luke that did that. I'm not a Star Wars nerd. This much should be obvious. I don't know. I don't know what Star Wars nerd Pabs would look like. I tried to play Knights of the Old Republic one time, but I got stuck because I wasn't very good at the game. It feels weird not being. I don't know how to put it. Older games like that have a weird difficulty curve where being good at them is kind of hard because you need to have an understanding of the system in place and the kind of mindset that gamers of that era would have had. It's like playing through the original Fallout again, except this time I don't know like literally all the secrets of the game. Okay, yeah, she has her sleeves rolled up. 14 minutes on the clock. Okay, there we go. Here we go. Speaking of bad grocery decisions, I bought groceries the other day, right? I during the long weekend I got myself some groceries. And because I don't want to get scurvy, I also got myself, in addition to my usual canned stuff, I got myself a cucumber and a bag of grapes. And I was planning to make cucumber water with a cucumber and, just take a few bites out of it. There's something very satisfying about eating an entire cucumber. You feel very healthful. Well, I don't know. It depends on how much you like vegetables. I feel extremely healthy after I just eat a whole cucumber. No sauce, no ranch, not even slicing it, just taking big old bites out of it. That's the way I like eating cucumbers because it makes me feel like I've absorbed the maximum amount of healthiness from this food that I can. That's literally not a thing. That's a very non serious thought, like a horse, exactly like a horse. Yeah, it's a very unserious thought, but I do, but I that's just how I be. I remember the other day I was taking some antibiotics, right? And I was talking with my parents. I was like, I'm having some trouble remembering when I've taken all the antibiotics that I need. Actually, I need to take an antibiotic right now. I'm gonna mute for a second while I take this. Give me a minute. Okay, I'm good. It's my last day on these things, so remembering how many I need to take in a day is it's no longer really an issue. But I had to take these for 8 days, and I have to take 4 a day. So I had to. It was kind of difficult to remember the schedule for it. There's no a specific schedule, but I do have to remember to take 4 of them. And sometimes I think about taking one, and my brain will then say, "Okay, you thought about taking one. That means you've taken one." And that happens a lot in the morning specifically. I remember that this morning I woke up and I was like, "Oh, I need to take my antibiotics," and I was in like halfway into breakfast until I remembered, oh right, I didn't actually take my antibiotics. Anyway, my mother very wisely suggested that I just keep the antibiotic out of the bottle and just have them in a place that I can see, so that I can see how many I've taken and how how many more I would need to take. And to this poor woman, what I said was, but I don't want to take them and leave them out of the bottle because I feel like that'll make them lose efficacy. That was legitimately my reasoning. And as soon as I said it, I'm like, wait, no, that's dumb. I don't know why I'm built like this. It's good to talk about that sort of thing, though. It's good to hash that out with people. Another trick is turning the bottle upside down to remind you if you've taken it or not. Oh, that's clever. I need to keep that in mind next time I need to take antibiotics. Okay, there we go. That's a cool idea, though. Yeah. Unfortunately, this isn't enough to invest in one of those neat little pillbox thingies that, that some people have that show, oh, you're supposed to take this one on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. I think you'd probably still use those for, daily multivitamins. It'd definitely be a lot easier than remembering to take them all at once. And it's kind of crazy how many nutrients there are in this world. The human body uses so many different things, and it's kind of crazy to keep track of all of them. Okay, I'm going to lower the angle on the vest, I think. There we go. How are we for time? Got it. I got 8 minutes until my self-imposed deadline. All right, we got this. We got this. I like the unique shape of this buckle, though. This kind of M shape that we saw back here. I don't know if that's a stylistic thing or something, but it looks really cool. I don't know. Belt buckles, right? I think belt buckles are very usually associated, with good reason, with cowboys. But I wonder if there is a kind of formal occasion where a belt buckle would be called for. How do I put this? Because if you think about it, belt buckles are just another form of jewelry. Very unique and flashy jewelry, but what jewelry isn't a little bit flashy? That reminds me of that one Crazy Rich Asians movie where they have a scene dedicated to showing off just how expensive one piece of jewelry is, or how kind of important it is. Or Ocean's 8. I remember Ocean's 8 was such a good movie. I really like watching Ocean's 8 with my friend. I think the eyes. Something about this face. Maybe I need to maybe increasing the jawline. Something about Valoria's face is throwing me off. This feels a little bit better. There we go. But man, I'm finally feeling the summer heat. It took forever to get to the place where I live. Now I'm finally suffering with everybody else, the heat of it all. Yeah. It cooled down for a long time, which is good because of the forest fires, but how do I put this? It doesn't feel like summertime unless I'm sweating at least a little bit at all times of the day. Let's see. Okay, I'll probably get rid of these and just start working off of the sketch. Another good thing about not leaving my house very often is because I live near a more crowded market district, right? So because the shops in that area have a very high turnover, and I don't, how do I put this? I don't, I only see very small glimpses of the place at a time. Sometimes I'll notice that there's a new shop that popped up here and there. I think there's an ice cream store that popped up very recently on the street that I usually go through. So that's something new that I could do later. I don't know. Sometimes you look at a new shop and it's very easy to tell when it's one, secretly a chain store from another brand, two, somebody's passion project that they probably put their entire life funds into and went into with very little knowledge of business, or three, just some, how do I put this? There's a big diversity in people who start new shops, so it's very easy to find patterns in a way. This one in particular is definitely one of those people who's like, I can do everything for my shop myself, and they kind of DIY'd their graphic design. It's a great thing, to be able to DIY stuff, but you can also kind of tell when people do it out of necessity rather than I put this like they do it out of necessity rather than conscious choice. Still, it's really cool seeing new places pop up here and there. I think in a way it's very inspiring because it shows that this person who went into this, it shows a lot of pride in the shop. I think that's what I clowned on it a little bit, but I do think it's genuinely charming when a shop's kind of signs and everything have that graphic design is my passion kind of feel to them. Because it shows a lot of faith in the store itself. It shows that they are putting their heart into it. Because any old dingus could hire a decent graphic designer and get themselves a tailored logo, some very kind of crisp interior decor. But they don't always have the money for that. They don't always have the resources or bandwidth for that, and so they just do it themselves. And I think that shows a lot of cool spirit. I think that's like That's the actual entrepreneurial spirit. A lot of people use that phrase, disparagingly or ironically, but I do think having an enterprising spirit isn't necessarily a bad thing. Hell, I would argue that most VTubers possess, to some degree, an enterprising spirit. Most of us do a lot of the art assets and stuff ourselves, particularly art tubers. I think. I think in particular art VTubers have that trend. I can't really speak for other types of VTubers. I'm very lucky in that regard. I'm very lucky that I have access to a resource that's actually very difficult to get a hold of. Right, because I can make thumbnails for these different things. I can make those little calendar graphics that I do. I can make small assets here and there for the channel. And I don't have to be on a wait list. I don't have to pay out of pocket. I don't have to do anything for that. I just need to... Well, no, for the Live 2D models, I do need to pay for the Live 2D subscription. But you get what I mean. No, I'm very lucky that I went into streaming with art as my hobby. I'm very lucky to have art as a hobby in general. Sincerely, I don't think I can't really imagine a world where I am not doing art in some way, shape, or form. I don't know. Maybe if I'd never gotten into art, I would have actually become a martial artist. Yeah, there's a universe where young Pavs gave up on drawing at an early age, and it's just like an MMA superstar now. Or I don't know, he's like Ryu from Streets. Yeah. A lot of people think that if they hadn't gotten into their art or particular outlet, right, they would have become like an accountant. I'm already an accountant. So I don't know what mine. I feel like my thing would definitely cater to like the warrior's instinct or something. I can't say that I would have become a CPA because that's kind of what I'm already aiming for. Yeah, non-artist have somehow became a semi-successful indie wrestler. I think I would have the build for professional wrestling. If I literally trained every day of my life and didn't laze around like a jackass every other day. If it wasn't for that, I would definitely be able to do that. Okay, and then the lines here. I do appreciate that this crossbow is ambidextrous. Or at least I think that's what these little thumbtacks are supposed to be, because I feel like that looks like they're ambidextrous. Hmm. You never really consider it unless you're left-handed yourself, but I feel like as somebody who is right-handed, I don't often consider just the sheer breadth of things that need a handedness to be fully comfortable, right? Because left-handed people have a lot of things they just learn to deal with, I imagine. But at the same time, it's like what kind of things have handedness that I didn't even know about, right? Pens seem like they're one of those things that are ambidextrous, right? But would a crossbow be ambidextrous? Do swords need some kind of ambidextrous thing? I mean, things like a foil would definitely benefit from having an additional handedness component, right? Foils in particular because they have those very unique pistol grip handles. Yeah, would certain cooking utensils have handedness? to what extent do they actually have hand in this, and it isn't just some kind of marketing ploy to make people buy it online? Yeah. I learned the other day that apparently my mom's been getting into unboxing videos for those AliExpress hauls. And hmm, to some extent, I'm glad that I'm a digital artist instead of a traditional artist. I feel like I spend enough money without being like, "Ooh, new shiny thing" every 15 seconds when I see like a pretty set of watercolors or a nice set of markers. To be fair, $12 for a 12 pack of knockoff Copics is decent money, but still, I have fewer temptations as a digital artist. All mine come in the form of program subscriptions. Speaking of program subscriptions, that reminds me. I haven't tried to use that Shake Art app in a while. I wonder if the creators put any updates for it on itch. Also, I've gone over the deadline, but that's fine because I've gotten like I want to say a solid 80% of it done. Okay. Those are going to need a little bit of fine tuning. Make it make sense. I've got a straight line here, but it's not perfectly matching the straight line on the picture. What's up with that? There we go. Have a thing right here. Okay, try pull this. Have this. Finish this part. I don't even know what this is supposed to be. Again, is this supposed to be like the trigger for it? Crossbows are one of ranged medieval weapons are one of those things that I never had a lot of experience with in terms of studying because I always thought they were kind of boring compared to guns. You know, medieval melee weapons for sure, right? 24/7 every day of the week. But medieval ranged weapons, not as appealing to young babs. Didn't scratch the same itch, you see. In a way, I feel like they would be more fascinating than guns now because, guns have obviously been around for a while now, but they all kind of work on the same principle. But back in the day, you had medieval weapons using 6 different kinds of things. I misheard and thought you said medieval lady weapons. Now I'm just imagining some dude from the Middle Ages who has one of those like razor point hats, like that one dude from that James Bond movie. Dude, medieval knights would have loved James Bond movies. Okay. I don't have any particular reasoning for that, but I feel like they would have. Yeah, probably James Bond or Fast and Furious. They would have also been big fans of horse girl movies. I feel those would be like the top night categories, like action hero movies and horse girl movies. Let's see. I don't know. I feel like Knights would have also been kind of misogynistic about the horse girl movies, so maybe just the action hero ones. Or no, maybe the horse girl movies will teach them to respect women. Maybe we can do some good. Maybe we can do some good in this situation. What's our duty of care for the medieval, for these hypothetical medieval knights? Hmm. Well, it's kind of a moot point anyway. We cuff on them once and they kind of die on account of all the virulent diseases that we are inoculated against and they are not. To be fair, they might also manage to infect us back, depending on what on the kind of germ situation back in the day. Man, I bet a medieval knight could put it down on the grill. Back in the day, they had stews and porridges and all that. I bet if you introduced medieval knights to grill cookouts, they would be super into it. Although I think at first they might mistake the grill for some kind of torture implement. So you heateth this crucible of butane, and upon it place thine meats? That's right, Sir Frederick. And you do not place upon them the flesh and tender meats of humans. That's no, we don't do that. Aha. It would take them a second to get used to it, but I think they would rock with it. I think they would enjoy it. All right, how's it look without the references? I am missing some of Wyatt's lower body. This has a lot of that kind of someone will die of fun energy. I forgot the tail. How could I forget the tail? That's the most crucial aspect of all of this. What? Oh my god, I just remembered. I have a curse of forgetting tails. Every single time I draw a character with a tail, I forget about it until the very end. And it doesn't even have to be specifically a tail. It just has to be a tail esque appendage. I remember in Art Fight for last year, I forgot to draw these twin tails that one of the characters that I drew had. I think it was one of Spasimoto's characters. I forgot to draw the twin tail on one of them until the very end. Yeah, when it comes to art, I'm not good at this at some slightly finer details like that. There we go. Hmm. I think I might have made Valerie's head too small. I think that's also what's throwing me off about the proportions of the head a little. Let me just do a quick couple things to fix that. Yeah, maybe just a little bit of the side lock falling on Wyatt's head. Yeah, okay, I think that should do it for line art. Now for actually coloring these guys. We're a bit short on time, so I think I'm just going to color pick here. Grab these two, bring them out. Shrink them down a little. Oh yeah. I read the other day, apparently a French firefighter broke the record for longest distance run while on fire, which is kind of, one, an impressive thing that needs to be recorded, and two, kind of neat all of it all on its own. Apparently he ran 893 feet ablaze, which is very hardcore. I feel like I mean, you have to wonder, right? To what extent was that because he, like, I didn't get the full context, so I don't know what he was doing during that time. So there wasn't any, for the headline that I read, there wasn't any context given for why he ran that far while on fire. So it kind of just sounds like he did it for shits and gigs. Like, from the context, it sounded like it wasn't an intentional thing. Like, this was definitely a very, very much like he was on the clock, and this just kind of happened in the middle. But I don't know. I need to relook up that headline to get the full context for it. But that's kind of interesting because a lot of world records weren't set on purpose, right? Or at least some of the more mythical ones weren't set on purpose, like Philippides, who ran a long distance trying to get a message from someplace to Marathon, and actually created the sporting event, the Marathon. Right, and the distance that he ran was so long and so far that everybody was like, you know what, we ought to name an Olympic event after this dude. Marathoning is not an Olympic event, I just realized that. At least I don't think it is. No, it can't be. No, the Olympic doesn't do kind of marathons, I think. It does some very long foot races, but not marathons. To be fair, the Olympics are a lot about spectacles, so I feel like a marathon wouldn't play into that too much, right? It's something that you kind of pace yourself in, so it wouldn't be. I misheard. Oh, it's something that you pace yourself in. So, how could we make marathons into an Olympic event? Idea number one is to do it like a cooking show and have it so that we have staggered coverage of it. So the marathon started 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 2 p.m., 2:15, 2:40. So every 15 minutes we get a new marathon update. I feel like that's one of the options that you could do to make it more interesting. I don't know. I feel like that would be a little bit disrespectful to the people who are running it, though. Well, actually, every word out of my mouth for the past 15 minutes has been somewhat disrespectful to the people who actually run these events. So, a bit late. That vote has already sailed. Too late for regrets now. Okay, kind of switch it like this. Okay, grab this earring gold. Another thing I really like about Shai's art style is that she adds these hard effects. At least for Wyatt, it's there, right? Valerie's a more serious woman, so she doesn't have those. But I like small details like that. I love anything where people do something creative with the eyes. Okay. Oh, got a little bit of a scuffage here on Valerie, but that's fine. I love clean references like this. I love it when people put a lot of care into their references like this because it makes it so much easier to do the attacks. Although I feel like the ponytail on Valerie is a bit weak. I feel like it could be a little bit fluffier. There we go. Not the right color. My bad. Is the hair tie a specific color? Yes, it's this kind of orange color. Big fan of the brown on cocky. I do enjoy the warm earth tones. Okay. I need to do a study session on hands soon again. I don't know. I feel like my hand game has been getting weaker. I almost hadn't noticed that she switches the colors between these two. That's kind of neat. I like that. Okay. Just a little bit of color here. What's her eye color? Just a brown? Okay, nice. There we go. Something that I'm always conscious of is how to draw stuff that's being covered up by hair. Because on the one hand, leaving it too raw feels wrong. Raw. Would that be the right term? Raw? I feel like it's appropriate. I feel like raw works. Okay. Belt here. We use the same gold for the buttons of the vest. Then we can use this darker brown for the pants. Now, I had a cool effect that I thought I could maybe use here, but it might take me a second to find it. But if I can find it, it'll make a huge, huge time save on the background. First, let's get this crossbow in place. Oh yeah. I've talked about insect protein a couple times on this channel, and that's because I'm personally interested in it, but also because wait, is the tie and the belt? Oh man, are the pants and the belt the same color? Did I do that on accident? Hang on. Oh, they totally are. Dang it. Alright. So what we'll do then is we'll just use the color of her hair for the color. No, probably a darker color than the color of her hair. Like an almost black for the belt. There we go, that works. Anyway, I've talked about insect proteins on the channel a couple times because I'm personally very invested in that concept. Hang on. Whoops, my bad. Apparently they're kind of test driving it on pet foods, which feels a little bit odd given that I said that I was interested in it because, I don't know, I feel like the end goal of insect protein manufacture is to make it so that normal people will be interested in using it. But I feel like if you put it in dog food first, that might actually increase the trepidation because then afterwards you're not just asking people to eat bugs, which is already a little bit of a big ask, but you'd also be asking them to eat dog food, which I feel maybe perhaps an even bigger ask. Like, one of the few things you never want to have happen to you is to recognize one of the ingredients in your dog's food's labels outside of the context of any proteins. It's just what I feel. I don't know. That's why I don't like spending too much time in the pet food aisle of supermarkets. First of all, because I don't have a pet, and so spending any time there is just kind of a waste to begin with. But also because of, hang on, the fact that something about pet food, thinking about the fact that it's supposed to be like, oh, fish dinner, I don't know, something about that feels weird to me. I feel like we're putting on. There is that sort of crowd of people who treat their pets as human beings, and I think it's great to have that much affection for something. But at the same time, I feel discomforted when I think of pet food when I'm trying to eat like chicken dinner or something. I remember seeing this video of a woman who was preparing the cat food. So there are these like licking plates that some people have for their cats instead of their bowls because otherwise they'll eat too fast. And first of all, it's incredible that cats eat quickly enough that that is a salient concern. I think that that's really funny. But more to the point, I was seeing how like the food thing, how the food plate was prepared, and it just kind of grossed me out a little bit. You know, seeing essentially just kind of paste of meat. I'm not going to go into it too much, but it was just, I don't know. I don't like thinking about my food while I'm thinking of the dog's food. Not a fan of that happening to me. Okay, grab this color. And then maybe some kind of color like this. Oh, that's the background color. That's my bad. All right. That should be good for the line art. Okay, so now I wanted to find, or, you know, for the flats. All right, so I wanted to find a background effect that I found a long time ago. Let me see if I can retrieve it. A long time ago, I downloaded a resource pack. Hang on. Ink mats. Is this the one? Yeah, I think this might be the one. Let me scroll through these. Okay. Not quite. What about this one? That's basically the same. Okay. This one seems promising. Forgot about the llama. All right, anyway. I like this one, actually. Hang on. It's almost kind of... I don't know if this is a Mandelbrot testing. Doesn't this look a little bit like a wolf? The outline on this mat? It's vaguely wolf head-esque. It has aspects of the wolf within. I don't know. How many of these do I have? I'd be able to find a really good one. Yo, come on. Right after I started, come on. This is almost exactly what I was looking for. Hang on. We can increase the size of these guys too, while we're at it. See, this is why it's important to have a deep well of resources. You never know when something like this will come in handy. Speaking of which, hang on. Let's make that first guy Skadoodle. Then after that... Looking cool. Thank you. Alright. We'll keep these two in a separate folder. Like Old West. Oh! I hadn't thought of it from that angle. Yeah, now that you mention it, they do look kind of cowboyish. It reminds me a little bit of like a mountain ranger, especially with like the brown tones on Valoria. It reminds me a little bit of a park ranger's outfit. Man, I remember seeing Cocaine Bear in theaters, and not knowing until that point that park rangers were allowed to carry guns in the U.S. Like, I feel like you can justify it somewhat by saying, oh, park rangers probably need a little bit more wildlife defense than, just harsh words. But I didn't know that park rangers carried guns until I saw Cocaine Bear. That was on me for being uneducated, I think. Okay, that 14 was kind of a winner. What other kind of things do we have in here? We might be able to find one that we can add in the background. Kind of a secondary one. This might be it. What other things do I have in this bag of tricks? Impact effects. What's this one? Oh, okay, these are shockwaves. Okay, that's not really what we're looking for. Okay, this might be interesting. Like this. All right. That kind of looks cool, but I'm not really feeling the photo background. I still need to shade it a little bit, at least. Still, this does give me a good idea for kind of like the general tone that I want the background to have. It's kind of dark blue. We can put a little bit of English on it for the purposes of the drawing. So let's see here. This also looks good though, like with just the gray. Maybe we can work. Hang on, maybe there's a compromise we can work out. All right, let's darken this blue first. Then with one of the thicker paint brushes, we might kind of on a separate layer. Like this. Yeah, just some kind of abstract pattern. I think that would be best. I also really like this grunge effect. All right, that being said, all right, I'm going to try and use a technique that is very much an experimental technique, but I want to see if it works. All right, hang on. So I have to use like a dark blue color. Okay. Color that in. Color that in. Color this in. Color this part in. Well, we can keep going like this. Okay, like that. There we go. Close that down a little. Okay, like that. This is going so far. It could be going better, but like I said, experimental. We're taking big challenges here. We're making the mother of all omelets here. Can't fret over every egg. Let's see. I feel like you could definitely make a copy, an art fight edition of the Senator Armstrong copy pasta for the purposes of art fight. I feel like you could definitely try something like that. I need to go into my drafts and see if I can work something on that. God, I've never played Metal Gear Rising, but I still remember most of the parts of the Senator Armstrong dialogue because it's been memed to hell by this point. My favorite one is the one that they did based on fighting game lingo. I don't know. There's something very special about fighting game lingo. There's something very special about like the fighting game community in general, which has this wonderful sense of passion, right? That's why I find myself getting very easily into like the hype of it. It's very because I know enough about it to understand when something cool happens. It's very easy for me to also get hyped. It's not like in I know sometimes in normal sports as well, you can tell when like something is really hype. But I think for fighting games in particular, I have a decent grasp on it. Okay, and then with the soft eraser, this section here, expand by 1 pixel, remove this. Have it kind of be soft erased there. Just a little bit of both here. Yeah. There's been last summer there was some construction going on behind my apartment building. The landlord apparently wanted to install some kind of like weird pseudo garden gazebo thing. It looked they had like a Google search up of it in the lobby. It looked kind of weird. But after they dug up the grass behind the lot, I think the people who were in charge of that project either gave up or just didn't see the value in finishing the investment. So now we just have like a kind of flat surface on the back there. I'm telling you that story because I need to also tell you that for the past few days, there's been a lot of loud construction noises coming through my house. And I thought in vain hope that it might be that they're finally finishing that stupid garden thing. Because it's nice. It'd be nice to be able to see flowers from my window, right? But no, unfortunately, they're just replacing the front steps, which I didn't even know needed to be replaced. I didn't think that was something that was like on the high list of priorities, but turns out it was. Guess darn things must have finally gotten worn out. But yeah, I was kind of hoping that they would be finishing that stupid gazebo. I don't even think it's a gazebo. They don't have a. Would be more. I don't know. Is it still a gazebo if it's not round? Because I feel like gazebo, depending on the context, could mean any kind of garden structure. Gazebos in particular feel like they should be round, but this structure isn't like that. It's square. So yeah, it doesn't feel appropriate to call it a gazebo, but I don't know what else to call it. It's not really a pagoda either, because a pagoda is like a gazebo that has straight lines. This thing's just kind of like a lean-to, like a shelter. God, she is going to have a haunting expression once the shadows kick in. The hell is this? Yeah, that'll do. Then do for the kind of flat colors underneath this, I mean. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna do a quick thing here, and that's that I'm gonna increase the area scaling by 2 here. There we go. Okay, then with a soft eraser, just really go ham on lowering the opacity of these. They're barely visible. Okay, then for Wyatt, it's going to be kind of the opposite. Just very light shadows on his face. Okay. Then like this. Adding a shadow right here to the elf ear. Well, I guess it's not really an elf ear, is it? I don't know. It's hard to not think of pointy ears as elf ears for me. Like I get why they're used for characters who have like lycanthropy, right? Because they're a good shorthand of. Hang on, I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. They're a good shorthand for kind of this idea of, hey, this person isn't normal, right? I don't know though. I feel like that something pointy ears is more of a vampire thing. Should be more of a vampire thing. Wyatt makes him work though. I like the way they look on him. The thing is, as well, though, I say that, but in reality, folk tales aren't real. Like, mythological creatures aren't real. You can do whatever the hell you want with them. Like, you can do literally whatever you want. And that's what's cool about creating stuff. Okay, a little bit of shadow here, a little bit of shadow here, a little bit of shadow here, here, and here. Okay, then like this. Oh my, I hadn't even noticed that we had a few apps back here. That's embarrassing. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay. How are we for time? We've got time. I think if we finish this before the top of the hour, we should be good. For my mental health. That's not true. It's not even for my mental health. It's just for my normal, actual physical health. Streaming late is fun, but it's good to go to bed on time, I stick around usually for an hour or two after streaming. So wrapping up early means that I usually have enough time to get ready for bed at a reasonable hour. The problem is streaming is so much fun, though. Working on art stuff is so much fun. Sometime at some point, I'm gonna miss how idyllic these days were. I've had a lot of pressure on me this year, but right now I'm at a very low pressure point, right? I don't have any classes pending. I don't have any, you know, I don't have any more documents pending. I have all I need, more or less. So it's nice. It's relatively low stress. I don't know. After you've been operating for a while under crisis mode, it feels very challenging to go back to doing stuff normally, right? Because I used to be, I was juggling classwork and streaming and my work pretty easily. Well, no, there were definitely some challenges, but I was at least handling it, right? During the winter, during last winter, during 2022. I'm just wondering if I still got that mojo. I'm sure I'll dig deep and pull it out if I need to. Still, it's a little daunting. Okay. Then, yeah. It does, what makes it easier no matter what, though, is knowing that there are people in my corner. So thank you all for the support. Like, just seeing people turn up to these things, it's it makes me feel much more like I'm not in it alone, because when people come in, they tell me they tell their own stories from time to time, and it's nice to have that. It's nice to kind of know that we're all kind of going through it, but we're all still hanging on there, because we all have different things we hang on there for. Some people do it for their pets, some people do it for their families, but in the end, we all do it for one reason or another. God, when I was at a really low point, I've talked before how like my low point is usually punctuated with thoughts like I need to get a sword or something. But what really kept me going in the last few years, well, last few years is a bit of an exaggeration. In the last few months or so, is knowing that if I give up now, I'm never going to be able to afford my Oshi's Figma. And it's a very petty thing, right? It's not exactly a noble goal to spend money on a plastic statue. But all the same, it's like my goal. It's something that I want to accomplish, that I really want to accomplish. So, in that sense, it's fulfilling its purpose perfectly. Yeah. All sorts of things can be used to motivate you. Ideally, they're non-financial, but what can I say? Things cost money. Okay, and then like this. There we go. Have I actually ever drawn a crossbow before? I'd probably have at some point in some form, right? It's fun. It's funny to think back. Like I used to be like the kind of guy who was like, oh, I don't know how to draw this. I don't know how to draw that. Now I can more or less just wing it, whatever I'm doing. So going from that to this is kind of a trip. Yeah. I've mentioned this before. I feel like the moment I felt like an actual artist was when I realized that I could just draw whatever I wanted. Not in the sense that, oh no, I'm obligated to draw this thing and this thing only because of some kind of weird self-imposed rule. No, what I mean by that is, if I get interested in fighter jets, for example, I will be able to draw a fighter jet. If I want to draw a fighter jet, I can draw a fighter jet. That's just a thing I can do. No ifs, ands, or buts. And that having that freedom, having that knowledge that, whatever you want to do, you can do pretty decent at the skill level. I think that's when I felt the most like an artist. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm an artist. Because when you're learning, right? And this doesn't really ever stop. You look at other people's art and you're like, dang, am I ever going to be as good as that? Am I going to be able to like produce something as cool as that? Right? You get that a little bit of like self doubt, that little bit of tug of self doubt. But that goes away, and it doesn't go away in the sense that it stops forever, but it stops in the sense that you no longer wonder, can I draw something like that? And you start to say, okay, can I draw like that person's style specifically? Because you still want to draw in a specific style. I remember when I was growing up, I was enamored with the Scott Pilgrim art style, and you can still see very, very trace influences of that in my art. But you know what I mean? It's like you can draw what you like without really worrying about whether or not it'll turn out good, because you know that the technical quality will be fine. Yeah, that's the word. Technical quality. Like, the technical quality will be assured. It's the artistic interpretation of it, like your own art, your take on it as an artist that might not be what you want it to be, but that it'll be a technically fine drawing. It'll be technically fine, right? That's what I mean. That's when I started feeling like an artist, is when I needed to stop worrying about like the technical quality of it and started more being concerned about the artistic quality of it. Okay, the hair. I forgot the hair. How are we for time? Very close to the top of the hour, but we'll get there. We'll make it. We'll make it. I've got a few last tricks up my sleeve. Okay. Then we'll select this. Okay, we're going to use the soft eraser here. Okay. And a little bit of shading for Wyatt's hair here. I do like it when people's OCs just have regular people names. That's something that never gets old. Because, names are very important. Across almost every culture and story in existence, people's names need to have some kind of significance to them, right? Sometimes they are named haphazardly, that I'll give you, but even when they're named haphazardly, there's some you can kind of see the intent the author had behind it. So if they name an everyman type of character John or something, right? You can tell, okay, so this person's perception of an everyman is a John. Somebody sat down and thought to themselves, I'm going to design an everyman, and they had a picture of an everyman in their mind, and that picture might not necessarily be what you also consider an everyman. Yeah, for example, everybody thinks of, I like the only visible to you the only visible to you is stream and horse stance. Oh, do you have you been activating the other redeems? Such as like cause problems on purpose. Have you been trying to do other redeems that haven't come through? Because I still got redeem and I still got redeem. How did I? Okay, my brain tried to do something weird with that sentence. I still see the hydrate and posture check redeems. But speaking of which, I should probably check my posture. No, I just see the only visible to you. Only visible to you. Wait, so you can't see the other redeems, or can you? Can Bunny? Do you not have executive power over putting me in horse stance? I didn't intend to put that power in your hands, but I feel like you're a responsible wielder of it. It's in chat. Huh. Weird. Hang on, let me see if I can open it up Twitch. Somehow. I can't see it in the Twitch stream manager either. I don't know, maybe I haven't updated my OBS or something. That's because it's only visible to me. Damn, they weren't kidding about. Well, good for them for being being truth in advertising. It's like a notice when you have enough points. Oh, it's that notice. I see. Okay. Okay. Let's see if this gamble of mine works out in my favor. Okay, nice. And then I'm going to grab this. Hang on, I'm gonna do a little something with the hair here. Okay, I see now that I also need to soften up a little bit the cheekbones here. Just very close to the chin. Alright, this isn't looking too shabby. Although I do want to make some, hang on, adjustments, some very small adjustments. So right here, for example. Okay, now then, for the next step of my genius plan. Well, if you've been around the streams, you'll know what I'm about to do next. It's time for the color gradient. For the gradient mapping, I mean. All right, so I wanted like a dark blue tint to these too. I think having this blue sky dark one is going to be kind of what I'm looking for. That's kind of cool though. This orange tone. Here we go. Yeah, I think this is going to be it. I think this is going to be. Hang on. Maybe if I change the perspective on this, because it is a little bit wider than it is tall, right? So change canvas size, just widen it out a little bit. Hang on. Just a little bit less than that. Okay, and then just widen everything else. You don't need to think about that part too hard. I will say something that I really dig about some of the CSP tools is this little bunch right here. These don't come into play very often, but when they do, they really save my bacon. They are the alignment tools. And whenever I need to center something or make sure that the canvas is behaving like it should, seriously, MVPs. Hang on, though. There we go. Just making sure that we have that wall-to-wall kind of grunge effect. And then, can we increase the opacity of the grunge overlay? I like this. All right, and one more thing that I need to do. First, let's see how, okay, if I see. Okay, let me just check something real quick. I forgot the pinstripe pattern on Wyatt's vest. I remember the tail, though. I didn't forget the tail this time. Thank the heavens. I think if I had forgotten the tail this time around, I would have really never lifted down. All right, hang on. Select, color gamut, this one here. Now then, the main problem is that, hang on, is there a way for me to easily extend Wyatt's behind back here? Wait, no, that's, hang on. I made a horrible mistake. This is all supposed to be tail. Okay, so I think what we can do, thankfully because Wyatt has shorts with the same design as the shirt, we can just kind of extend the lines over here. All right, we got this. We got this. Last minute clutch, we got this. All right, let's turn off the other effects for the time being. Get rid of this thing too, okay. Okay, pick from layer. Whoops. Did not mean to do that. Let's give that another shot. Okay, how's that look? That works. I'll take it. That works. Thank you, brain, for being so huge. Okay. I think this looks pretty good. I like how this one came out, although I do want to do one last thing, which is to narrow these dudes down a little bit. No, hang on. I'm going to have to shrink them. Yeah, I like how these came out. All right, let me slap my signature on these, and we should be good to go. All right. Let's see. Okay. I'd call that a job well done. Well, is anybody streaming right now? Let me take a quick look. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna end things here. All right. Well, thank you all for coming out. I really appreciate it. I will maybe be back on Saturday. Let's call Saturday stream a maybe. Let's call Saturday stream a maybe. I'm either going to be using a silly little soundboard or I'm going to be not talking at all, and it's just going to be just the same BGM from as usual while I work. But yeah, thank you all for coming by. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your week. I'll talk to you all later. Bye.